The alarm sirens ripped through the silence of the United Earth Defense Station, echoing down steel corridors like a scream. Red lights flashed above every bulkhead, pulsing in rhythm with the warning klaxons. Commander Jake Morrison burst out of his quarters, half-dressed in his black duty uniform, boots thudding hard on the metal deck as he sprinted toward the command center. His chest still ached from sleep, but his mind was already sharp, fueled by adrenaline. This wasn't a drill. He had felt the difference immediately. Drills had order. Noise, yes, but controlled noise. This was chaos. Shouts from crew members, the rush of boots in all directions, the crackle of overloaded comm channels. Something big had come, something unknown. Jake reached the command center doors, his hand pressing the sensor. The doors slid open, revealing a wide chamber filled with glowing hollow screens, frantic officers, and the deep hum of the station's systems straining under pressure. At the center of it all stood Dr. Amanda Pierce, Earth's leading xenobiologist. Her usually calm brown eyes were wide, her hands shaking slightly as she pointed toward the main tactical screen. She wore a simple lab coat thrown hastily over her shirt, hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. Jake's stomach tightened. He had fought battles, he had seen men die, but he had never seen Amanda afraid. "What do we have?" Jake demanded, stepping up beside her. The massive screen lit up with a shifting map of the outer solar system. For a moment, it looked normal: stars, planets, the cold black void. Then Amanda touched a control and the display changed. Ships. Hundreds of them. They weren't human. No straight lines, no sharp angles. Instead, the vessels curved like shells and spirals, flowing as though they had been grown, not built. Their surfaces shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water, alive with strange light. Jake's throat went dry. "When did they arrive?" he asked quietly. 20 minutes ago, Amanda replied, her voice tight. No warning, no signals, just appeared. Jake swore under his breath. Humanity had long guessed it wasn't alone in the galaxy, but never had ships like these entered their backyard. General Lisa Carter entered then, tall, sharp-eyed, her gray hair tied back neatly. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Status report." Jake nodded at the screen. Hundreds of unknown ships holding position at the edge of the system. No hostile moves, no communication. Carter's eyes narrowed. Could be an invasion fleet. "Or something else," Amanda said quickly. She turned, fire in her eyes now despite her fear. "They're not attacking, not making demands, just waiting, that matters." Jake studied Amanda. He knew her, stubborn, brilliant, willing to risk everything for knowledge. And he saw it in her expression now. She wanted to go to them. "I need to make contact," Amanda said, as if reading his thoughts. "If they are aliens, I can try to understand them. That's my life's work." "Absolutely not," Carter snapped. "Too dangerous." "They could have destroyed us already if that was their goal," Amanda pressed. "Look at those ships. They have enough firepower to wipe us out, but they're not firing. That has to mean something." Silence hung for a long, tense moment. Jake felt the weight of history pressing down. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, and now it had arrived, silent and waiting at the edge of the system. Finally, General Carter exhaled. "Fine, but you're not going alone. Commander Morrison will lead the escort." Jake's gut tightened. Relief and fear battled inside him. Relief that Amanda wouldn't be alone, fear of what awaited them out there. 2 hours later, Jake sat in the pilot's chair of the Earthship Discovery, his hands steady on the controls though his heart pounded like a drum. Amanda sat beside him, double-checking her translation equipment for the 10th time. Behind them, 6 soldiers of the Earth Defense Force strapped into their seats, armored and armed, eyes sharp but nervous. "Launching in 3, Jake said into the comm. 2, 1. The Discovery shot forward into the black Earth, shrinking behind them as the alien fleet grew larger on the view screen. Jake's eyes scanned every detail. The ships were unlike anything he had ever imagined. Their surfaces moved, shifting as though they were alive, breathing with the starlight. Amanda's scanner beeped. She frowned. "What is it?" Jake asked. "I'm picking up biological readings," Amanda said slowly. Jake blinked. "From the crews." "No," she whispered, "from the ships themselves." Jake stared out at the shimmering vessels. The thought twisted his stomach. Ships that were alive, half machine, half living creature. Then one of the alien vessels broke formation, gliding silently toward them. smaller than the rest, but still 3 times the size of the Discovery. Incoming transmission, Sergeant Hayes shouted from the comm station. Jake's hands tightened on the controls. Put it on screen. The static cleared, and the command deck fell into silence. The figure that appeared on the screen was alien, pale blue skin glowing faintly, long, thin limbs, a narrow face with massive dark eyes that looked impossibly sad. The alien opened its mouth, speaking in musical, flowing sounds that made no sense to human ears. Amanda's hands flew over her translation computer. "Give me a few minutes," she murmured. "I need to find patterns." The alien kept speaking. Slowly, symbols appeared on Amanda's screen. At first, nonsense, then words. Amanda's voice caught as she read them aloud. "Help dying refugees, please." The command deck went still. Jake's chest tightened. "Not invaders, refugees." Amanda's computer spat out more words. Her hands shook as she read them. "We are the Zelani. We ask for sanctuary. Our people are dying. Please help us." Jake swallowed hard, eyes fixed on the alien's sorrowful face. This wasn't an invasion. It was something far more dangerous. A choice. For the first time in human history, Earth had to decide whether to open its arms to strangers from the stars or close its doors forever. The alien placed one thin hand on its chest. A single word came through the translator. "Keith." Jake leaned forward, heart pounding. He pointed to himself. "Jake," he said slowly. The alien's dark eyes seemed to brighten. It repeated the gesture toward Amanda. Amanda smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened with tears. Amanda. For one breathless moment, it felt like the beginning of something beautiful. Then the warning alarms blared again. Another fleet had just entered the system. And this time the ships were not shimmering or curved. They were dark, angular, bristling with visible weapons. The Dominion had found them. The klaxons screamed again as the second fleet appeared on the edge of Earth's solar system. On the Discovery's main screen, the shimmering organic forms of the Zelani vessels now looked fragile, almost delicate, beside the newcomers. The new arrivals were monstrous in their design. Angular ships, all black steel and razor edges, stretched like blades across the stars. Towering spires of weapons bristled from their hulls, rail cannons, plasma arrays, missile silos. Their outlines radiated menace. Where the Zelani ships looked alive, graceful, the Dominion ships looked like machines built for one thing only: war. Jake Morrison's hands tightened on the controls. His pulse thudded in his throat. He had seen warships before, but nothing like this. These weren't guardians, they weren't explorers, they were predators. Behind him, Sergeant Hayes muttered a curse. "That's an invasion fleet." On screen, the pale blue alien Keith stiffened visibly. His long fingers curled close to his chest. His eyes, already sad, now brimmed with a deep, ancient fear. Amanda leaned forward urgently. "Jake, look at him, he knows them." Jake didn't need Amanda's expertise to see it. The Zelani leader wasn't just surprised, he was terrified. The comm crackled, Hayes' face paled. "Commander, receiving wideband transmission, it's from the newcomers." "Put it through," Jake ordered, though his gut twisted with dread. The screen flickered again. This time an alien face filled the bridge. Tall, angular, skin like burnished metal gleaming under harsh command bridge lights. Its eyes glowed red, cold and sharp as lasers. The voice that came was perfect English but stripped of any warmth. It was mechanical, rehearsed. "People of Earth, we are the Stellar Dominion." The words rolled like thunder across the deck. The alien's gaze seemed to bore straight into every heart aboard the Discovery. "We come not as conquerors, but as friends." Jake's jaw clenched. He didn't believe that for a second. "We extend to you an offer. Join our Confederation of Worlds. In return, you will receive protection, technology, prosperity." The Dominion leader leaned closer to the screen. His red eyes burned brighter. "But understand this. Harboring fugitives is not an option. The Zelani are criminals, traitors. They belong to us. Surrender them to our custody, and your place in the Confederation is assured." The transmission ended. Silence filled the command deck. Only the throb of the Discovery's engines broke it. Amanda turned to Keith. "Is it true, are they?" Keith shook his head violently, his thin frame trembling. The translator box stuttered as it caught his words. "No, not criminals, refugees. We refuse to kill." Amanda's chest rose and fell rapidly. She turned on Jake, her voice fierce. "We can't give them up. You heard what he said. They're running because they refuse to be part of the Dominion's wars." General Carter's voice cut in through the comm from Earth Defense HQ. "Commander Morrison, return to base immediately. We need a full council before making any moves. Do not engage the Dominion. Do not engage the Zelani. That's an order." Jake hesitated. His instincts screamed at him. Every second felt like a blade against his skin. On the one side, Earth's command and protocol. On the other, Amanda's desperate eyes and the trembling form of Keith, whose entire species clung to the thin thread of sanctuary. "Copy that," Jake forced out finally. "Returning to station." The Discovery turned back, leaving the alien fleets glaring at each other in the black sea of space. The White House Situation Room in Washington buzzed with tension. Holographic displays lit the chamber, showing the Dominion ships at the system's edge and the Zelani clustered close together, as if bracing for the storm. President Kevin Walsh sat at the head of the long table, his face pale and drawn. Years of service had aged him quickly, but tonight he looked far older. General Carter stood to one side, arms behind her back, a wall of steel and discipline. Senator Paul Newman, head of Earth's Defense Committee, leaned forward across the table, eyes sharp with ambition. "They're lying," Amanda said, her voice urgent as she stood before them. "The Zelani aren't invaders. They're refugees, survivors of genocide. They came to us for sanctuary." "Refugees," Newman repeated with a sneer. "Or cowards hiding from their own crimes? Dr. Pierce, you're trusting a translation device. For all we know, they're manipulating us." "They saved their own people by refusing to make weapons," Amanda shot back. "They were punished for it. That's who they are." President Walsh rubbed his temples. "And the Dominion." "They're offering us protection," Newman said smoothly. "They control thousands of worlds. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Think of what humanity could gain by joining them." "At what cost?" Amanda's voice cracked. "They'll use us the same way they used the Zelani, as soldiers, as weapons. You think they want us as equals. They want our creativity, our adaptability. They'll feed us into their wars until nothing of humanity is left." General Carter's gaze remained locked on the hollow display. "Sir, the Dominion wants an answer within 24 hours. If we refuse, they'll consider us hostile." Walsh's eyes darted from Amanda to Newman, to Carter, to the Zelani ships on the screen. The weight of a world hung on his shoulders. Back on the Discovery, docked at Luna 7 station, Jake sat alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He couldn't shake Keith's face from his mind, the fear, the trembling voice whispering, "We refuse to kill." Amanda entered quietly, setting a steaming mug of coffee on the console beside him. "You've been here for hours," she said softly. Jake grunted, eyes still fixed on the stars. "Feels like we're standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the ground to give." Amanda sat beside him, folding her arms. "We are. The Dominion will not wait forever." Jake finally turned to her. "Tell me the truth. If Earth sends the Zelani back, what happens to them?" Amanda's eyes glistened. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Extinction." Jake exhaled slowly. His chest felt like stone. He had spent his life following orders, protecting Earth, but now the path forward felt murkier than ever. Before Amanda could answer, the station-wide alarms blared again. Jake and Amanda shot to their feet. "Report," Jake barked into his comm. "Unidentified activity," came the response from Ops. "Zelani fleet is moving. Oh God, they're powering down. Entire fleet is going dark." Jake froze. Going dark, why? On the main tactical screen, the Zelani ships dimmed one by one, their shimmering lights fading into blackness. To the sensors, they seemed to vanish. Amanda's hands shook. "Jake, they're hiding. They know the Dominion will come for them." And sure enough, the Dominion fleet shifted. Their formation tightened, weapons powering, engines roaring like thunder in the void. "They're moving toward Earth," Hayes reported, his voice cracked. Jake's blood ran cold. The Dominion wasn't waiting anymore. They were coming. The Dominion fleet advanced like a wall of iron across the stars. Their black, angular hulls swallowed the light of distant suns, blotting out constellations. Every weapon hummed with stored energy, visible even from millions of kilometers away. Inside Luna 7 station, fear thickened the air. Technicians shouted, soldiers scrambled, politicians demanded answers. Screens flickered with tactical updates, the Dominion's cold progress turning every heartbeat heavier. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the command center, his fists clenched at his sides. He could feel the crew watching him, not for orders, not yet, but for assurance, and he had none to give. Amanda burst in, her lab coat fluttering, her expression pale but determined. She held a datapad tight against her chest. "Jake," she said breathlessly, "I've been with Keith. He told me things." Jake turned sharply. "What things?" "The truth about the Zelani, about why the Dominion is hunting them." General Carter strode forward. "Doctor, we don't have time for speculation. The Dominion is closing in." Amanda ignored her, eyes locked on Jake. They weren't always refugees. The Zelani were once the Dominion's greatest warriors, weapons of conquest. They designed plagues that could strip planets bare. They grew living machines that could enslave entire species. For thousands of years, they were the Dominion's chosen executioners. Murmurs rippled across the command deck. Even Carter's steel composure faltered. Jake felt his stomach tighten. He remembered Keith's trembling words, "We refuse to kill." "They walked away," Amanda pressed, her voice low and urgent. "They saw what they'd become and they rebelled. They swore an oath never again to build weapons, never again to be used for death. That's why they're hunted. Not because they betrayed the Dominion's power, but because they betrayed its purpose." General Carter's jaw tightened. "So they admit they're killers. That doesn't make them saints, Dr. Pierce." "No," Amanda said fiercely. "It makes them survivors who chose another path. The question is, do we believe in redemption, or do we side with the monsters who demand obedience?" Jake stared at the main screen. Dominion warships drew closer, their formation shifting into attack pattern. His heart pounded like a drum. The comm crackled suddenly, Hayes shouting from the ops station. "Commander, Zelani ships, they're moving again, not toward the Dominion, toward us." Every head turned to the tactical display. The Zelani fleet flickered back into visibility, organic hulls shimmering as though drawing breath. They were approaching Earth's defense perimeter. "Are they attacking?" Carter barked. Amanda's voice trembled. "No, they're surrendering." Jake and Amanda stood in the hangar bay of Luna 7, watching as the first Zelani vessel docked. It looked like a living shell, its surface pulsing faintly with veins of blue light. The airlock hissed open. From the mist stepped Keith. His tall, thin frame seemed frailer up close. His glowing skin was dim as though weighed by exhaustion. Behind him walked several more Zelani, their eyes hollow, their movements slow. Amanda stepped forward. "Keith, why come here? Why now?" The translator box flickered. Keith's voice came through, musical but broken. "We do not want you destroyed for us. Better we give ourselves than you suffer." Amanda's eyes burned with unshed tears. "No, that's not the answer." Keith tilted his head, his great dark eyes sorrowful. "The Dominion always wins. We are tired of running." Jake stepped forward, his voice hard. "Maybe they always won before, but Earth isn't like the others. We don't roll over when someone tells us to. You came to us for sanctuary. We gave our word." Keith studied him for a long moment. Then slowly, his trembling fingers reached out, brushing against Jake's sleeve. His voice whispered through the translator. "You are different. You fight for others." Before Jake could respond, the station shook violently. Sirens wailed, soldiers stumbled, engineers shouted over intercoms. "Impact detected," Hayes cried from the comm. "The Dominion just fired a warning shot across Luna's hull." Jake's blood boiled. It wasn't a warning, it was a message. Hand them over or else. In Washington, the Crisis Council reconvened. President Walsh leaned forward, his knuckles white against the table. "They've fired on our station. Our people are at risk." Senator Newman slammed his palm down. "Then give the Zelani up, one species for billions. It's the only logical choice." Amanda's voice cut sharp as a blade. "That's not logic, that's cowardice. The Dominion will never stop. If we give them the Zelani, we prove we'll bow to threats. What's next? Our people, our children." Newman sneered. "Spoken like a scientist, not a leader. These aliens are dragging us into a war we cannot win. We must think of humanity first." Jake stepped forward suddenly. His voice was rough, steady, a soldier's voice. "Humanity first doesn't mean betraying our own values. Humanity first means showing the galaxy who we are. We don't abandon the helpless. We don't sell out allies. We fight not because we're strong, but because we refuse to be weak in spirit. The room fell silent. President Walsh's face was unreadable. Then he spoke quietly but firmly. If we fight, we may lose everything. If we surrender, we lose ourselves. Hours later, Jake returned to the docking bay. Keith waited there, sitting silently among his people. The other Zelani were huddled together, whispering softly in their flowing language, their skin dim like fatting stars. Jake crouched beside Keith. "We're not giving you up." Keith blinked, his dark eyes moist. "You will die." "Maybe," Jake admitted, "but if we hand you over, we're already dead." Amanda appeared beside him, her datapad glowing. "Jake, Keith showed me something. They're ships. They're not just alive. They can connect. Like neurons in a brain. The Zelani never used them as weapons, but maybe they could be something else. A defense, if we can link their biostructures with our tech." Jake's heart hammered. "A planetary shield." Amanda nodded. "Not exactly. Something bigger. A network. Living, adaptive, self-healing. It's never been tried before, not even by the Zelani. But with human engineering and Zelani biology, we could make Earth itself untouchable." Keith's head lowered. Dangerous, unstable, could destroy everything. Jake stood, his decision was already made. Then it's worth the risk, because the alternative is surrender. Amanda looked at him, her eyes wide with both fear and admiration. "Jake, this could change everything." The floor shook again, harder this time. Lights flickered. Hayes' voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, Dominion fleet has locked weapons on Earth itself. They're charging planet crackers." Planet crackers, weapons designed to split continents. Jake's jaw set, his voice was steady, cold as iron. "Then we build this defense now, or Earth is finished." In the Zelani bioreactor chamber, a vast room pulsing with organic conduits, walls that seemed to breathe, Amanda, Jake, and Keith worked side by side. Human engineers scrambled with wires and consoles. Zelani healers pressed their long fingers against glowing, crystal-like nodes, coaxing life from the technology. Ryan Cooper, one of Earth's brightest engineers, rushed in, sweat pouring down his face. "We've linked 80% of the bioreactors. The network's alive, but it's unstable. It's fighting itself. The human systems and Zelani systems don't speak the same language." "Then teach them," Jake snapped. Ryan shook his head. "We can't force it. If we push too hard, it collapses." Amanda's eyes lit up. "Don't force it. Let it be different. Like a brain, left side logical, right side emotional, separate but connected." Keith pressed his glowing hands against the nearest node. His eyes closed. The bioreactor pulsed brighter. "It listens, it learns, it feels your machines, it tries to understand." The conduits glowed, brighter and brighter, light racing through the chamber like veins of fire. Jake watched, all gripping his chest. "It's working." Amanda's datapad spiked with energy readings. "No, it's more than working, it's growing. It's spreading beyond the reactors. Jake, it's reaching into Earth itself." All around them, lights flickered as power surged through every circuit on the planet. Cities glowed brighter. Satellites hummed with new life. Crops pulsed in fields with faint blue light. The network was becoming one vast living organism. Then the chamber shook violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Soldiers staggered. "Dominion weapons fired," Hayes cried over the comm. "Impact in atmosphere, but it's gone. The network absorbed it." Amanda gasped. "Jake, they're feeding us power. The more they fire, the stronger the network becomes." Jake's chest swelled. For the first time, hope surged through him like fire. But Keith's eyes snapped open, wide with sudden fear. His voice trembled as the translator spat out the words. "No, not just Earth. The network is spreading further. It touches the Dominion ships. It touches their minds." Jake froze. "What do you mean?" Amanda's face paled as she looked at the readings. "The network isn't just defending us anymore. It's talking to them." The Dominion flagship loomed over the system like a black mountain drifting through space. Its hull was plated in armor thick enough to shrug off asteroids. Its weapons could crack continents. And its commander, High Admiral Zarich, was a legend feared across hundreds of worlds. But now, as he stood on his command bridge, a sliver of unease gnawed at him. "Admiral," reported his second, Commander Thex, his metallic voice tight, "our weapons' fire has no effect. The energy is simply absorbed. Every strike makes them stronger." Zerich's glowing red eyes narrowed. Impossible. Thex hesitated. Sir, there's more. Crews across the fleet report disturbances. Disturbances. Voices. Thex's polished metal jaw clenched. They claim to hear whispers, strange, gentle whispers, telling them they do not have to obey, that they are free. A chill rippled across the bridge. Zerich slammed his fist against the console. Weakness, treason, execute any soldier who repeats this nonsense. But as he spoke, he noticed something he had never seen before, doubt flickering in his officers' eyes. Soldiers who had never questioned him now glanced at each other, nervous, unsettled. For the first time in centuries of conquest, Admiral Zerich felt control slipping through his grasp. On Earth, in the humming bioreactor chamber, Amanda clutched her datapad, eyes wide as the readings poured in. Jake, the network is broadcasting more than energy. It's broadcasting thought, emotion, hope. Jake frowned, scanning the glowing conduits that pulsed like veins around them. Hope, that's not a weapon. Amanda's voice shook. It doesn't need to be. It's showing Dominion soldiers something they've forgotten. Choice. Keith stood beside her, his glowing hands trembling on the crystal node. His voice through the translator was soft, pained. This is what destroyed us, not our refusal, our questions. When one Zelani asked why, the Dominion's empire began to crack. Jake swallowed hard. He could picture it now, an empire built on obedience, collapsing because a single thought spread like fire. Why am I fighting? Commander, Hayes shouted over the comms. We're picking up anomalies in the Dominion fleet, ships breaking formation, weapons going offline. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. It's working. Aboard the Dominion warship Crusher, young soldier Crick sat frozen at his station. For 50 years, his people, the Vortani, had been slaves of the Dominion, forced to serve in every bloody campaign. He had fired on worlds he had never seen, slaughtered innocents he had never met. But now something new brushed against his mind, a warmth, a whisper. You are more than a weapon. He looked down at his trembling hands. His claws curled against the console. For decades, he had obeyed without question. But now a simple truth roared in his chest. I don't want to kill anymore. Crix rose to his feet, his voice breaking. I won't fire, not on them, not on anyone. His commander spun on him, fury in his metal face. You dare. But before he could finish, 3 more soldiers stood beside Crix. Their voices echoed. We won't either. And across the fleet, similar sparks ignited, soldiers laying down weapons, officers refusing orders, ships hesitating as the network's message spread like wildfire. On the Valor, Earth's most advanced warship, Captain Nicole Brooks watched the Dominion fleet with wide eyes. Report, she barked. Her lieutenant's voice shook. Captain, Dominion ships are fighting each other. Half of them refuse to continue the attack, mutinies spreading like contagion. Nicole's jaw clenched. She had spent her career preparing for humanity's first battle with a hostile alien empire. But this was something else entirely. She whispered under her breath, we're not fighting them, we're freeing them. In the White House, President Walsh paced the Situation Room, his advisors tense around him. Status of the fleet, he demanded. General Carter's voice was steady, though her eyes betrayed shock. Over 40% of Dominion ships have ceased fire. Some are openly rebelling. The network's influence is spreading faster than anything we've ever seen. Senator Newman slammed his hands on the table. This is madness. This alien infection is tampering with minds. What happens when it turns on us? Amanda's voice, carried via hololink, cut and sharp. It's not control, it's choice. For the first time in centuries, these soldiers can choose who they are, and they're choosing freedom. Walsh stopped packing. He looked at the map of stars glowing across the wall, Dominion ships blinking red, yellow, green as loyalties fractured. Slowly, he whispered the words that might define history. This isn't a battle, it's a revolution. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Zerich's fury boiled. His ship still obeyed. His officers still followed, for now. But the contagion of doubt was everywhere. Status, he snarled. Thex hesitated. Then, almost reluctantly, 60% of our fleet has joined the rebellion. It grows by the minute. Zerich's red eyes burned hotter. Then crush them, crush Earth. If we kill the source, the infection dies. His ship's weapons charged, glowing with devastating power. Back in the bioreactor chamber, the conduits pulsed like a heartbeat, light racing across Earth, through satellites into space. Amanda gripped the crystal core, her eyes closed, tears streaking down her cheeks. "I can feel them," she whispered. "The soldiers, the civilians, the conquered worlds, they're waking up. They're remembering who they were before the Dominion." Keith stood tall beside her now, his voice steadier than ever. "Perhaps this was our purpose, not to build weapons, to heal what we once broke." Jake stared at the glowing network. For the first time in his life, he felt not like a soldier defending his planet, but like a guardian standing at the birth of something new. Hayes's voice cut through the moment. "Commander, Admiral Zerich's flagship is powering up a planet cracker. Direct line on Earth." Amanda's eyes snapped open, horror flooding her face. "If they fire that..." Jake's voice was iron. "We don't give them the chance." He turned to Keith. "Can this network strike back?" Keith's eyes darkened. "It is not made to kill, only to connect." "Then connect," Jake said. "Connect to him, show him what he doesn't want to see." Amanda gripped the node tighter, channeling the network's energy. Her voice rang through the chamber, desperate but clear. "Find him, show him what freedom feels like." The conduits flared like fire, a brilliant wave of light shooting up through the skis, latching onto the Dominion flagship like living lightning. On his bridge, Admiral Zerich staggered. His red eyes widened as warmth flooded his mind, alien, human, Zelani voices all around him. Not commands, not fear, just possibility. "You do not have to fight, you can be more." He roared in fury, shoving the presence away, walls of iron slamming in his mind. "No, I am the Dominion, I am its will." But even as he screamed, his officers froze, staring at him with something dangerous in their eyes. Not fear, not obedience. Doubt. And Commander Thex, his loyal second for centuries, whispered a phrase no one had dared speak aloud before. "No more." The bridge of the Dominion flagship fell into chaos. Admiral Zerich slammed his fist onto the console, sparks leaping from the metal. "Stand down, Thex. That is an order." But Commander Thex did not move. His glowing crimson eyes flickered, as though dimmed by something gentler. Slowly, he stepped away from his console. "No more," he repeated, louder this time. "We are not machines, we are not slaves." The bridge crew froze. For centuries, no one had defied an admiral of the Dominion. But now, whispers spread like cracks through ice. Soldiers exchanged glances. Engineers hesitated at their controls. Zerich drew his blade, a long, jagged weapon of black alloy that pulsed with heat. His voice was a snarl. "You dare betray the Dominion." Thex's voice did not tremble. "I dare to be free." The sound of those words was like thunder. The first officer dropped his weapon, then another. Soon, half the bridge crew had stepped back, forming a line behind Thex. Zerich's fury burned hotter than any star. "Mutiny," he roared. "All loyal soldiers, purge this ship." Blades hissed, energy rifles charged. The flagship of the Dominion, once the embodiment of fear, now erupted into civil war. On Earth's orbit, Captain Nicole Brooks watched the battle unfold through her view screen. Dominion ships broke formation, some firing on each other, others turning their guns on Zerich's loyalists. Her lieutenant's voice cracked with disbelief. "Captain, they're tearing themselves apart." Nicole gripped the arms of her chair. "And we hold the line. We don't fire unless fired upon. Every second we survive gives them a chance to choose." But deep inside her chest, a question gnawed. What if the mutiny failed? What if Zerich crushed the rebels and turned all that fury back on Earth? In the Zelani bioreactor chamber, the conduits glowed brighter, the light now pulsing like a heartbeat felt across the planet. Amanda staggered, clutching the core node, her body trembling with the strain. "Jake," she gasped, "the network is spreading further, it's connecting systems across the galaxy. Old Zelani tech, hidden fragments on 100 conquered worlds. It's waking them up." Jake steadied her, his strong hands on her shoulders. "You can't carry this alone, let the others help." Keith pressed his glowing palms against the core, his voice soft and resolute. "We are with you, together." Around them, other Zelani stepped forward, linking their hands to the conduits. Human engineers joined too, their consoles synced into the living system. Two species, so different working as one. The network pulsed brighter, and suddenly Amanda gasped. "I can feel them," she whispered. The soldiers who dropped their weapons, the ones refusing orders, their thoughts, their fear, and their hope. Jake stared at her. Hope's contagious. Let's make sure it spreads faster than fear. On the Dominion ship Crusher, young soldier Crick stood firm against his commander. The network's whisper still echoed in his mind, "You are more than a weapon." His commander raised a rifle. "Obey or die." Crix didn't flinch. "Then I die free." Before the commander could fire, another soldier struck him from behind. Then another. Soon, the deck was filled with shouts, weapons clattering, prisoners unshackled. The rebellion was no longer whispers. It was roaring flame. Back in Washington, the White House Situation Room shook with urgency. President Walsh stood over the glowing holographic map. Red dots for loyalist Dominion ships, yellow for undecided, green for those rebelling. Green spread faster than anyone could track. "Status," Walsh demanded. General Carter's voice was steady, but awe tinged her words. "Over 60% of the Dominion fleet has turned. The network's reach is accelerating it. They're fighting each other as much as us." Senator Newman slammed the table. "This is a trick. The Zelani are infecting minds, bending them. Today it's Dominion soldiers, tomorrow it's ours." Amanda's voice came sharp through the hololink. "No, Senator, the network doesn't control anyone. It only shows them truth. The choice is theirs." Newman's eyes narrowed. "And if some of them choose to fight us anyway?" Walsh finally looked up, his voice heavy but clear. "Then at least they chose, and we'll know what side we stand on." The Dominion flagship groaned as fire tore through its decks. Loyalist and rebel forces clashed in brutal close-quarters combat. Sparks rained, alarms shrieked. The ship shuddered under its own weapons, turning against itself. At the center of it all, Admiral Zarich cut down soldiers with ruthless precision, his black blade glowing red-hot. He was a storm of fury, his voice like thunder. "You think freedom makes you strong," he snarled, striking down another rebel. "It makes you weak. The Dominion endures because it does not allow choice." Thex, bloodied but unbroken, stood tall across from him. His own blade trembled in his hands. "Then maybe it is time the Dominion ends." Their weapons clashed, sparks flying, the duel echoing through the burning bridge. Around them, the fate of an empire teetered on the edge. In the bioreactor chamber, the conduit suddenly surged, light flaring so bright it blinded. Amanda gasped, falling to her knees. Jake knelt beside her. "What happened?" Her eyes were wide with shock. "The network isn't just here anymore, it's everywhere. It's linked to Dominion tech, their ships, their weapons, their cities. It's showing them all what's happening right now. The mutiny, the rebellion, the truth." Keith's trembling voice came through the translator. "The galaxy is watching." Jake's chest tightened. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds, seeing for the first time that the Dominion could bleed. That obedience wasn't unbreakable. That freedom was possible. But Amanda's face paled as she read the new data scrolling across her pad. "Jake, the Dominion is adapting. Zarich is redirecting all loyal ships. He's ordering them to stop the rebellion the only way he knows how." Jake's voice was low. "By burning it all down." "Exactly," Amanda whispered. "He's targeting Earth. If he destroys the source, the network collapses." The lights dimmed suddenly. The conduits flickered. A low rumble shook the station. Hayes's voice shouted through the comm. "Commander, all loyal Dominion ships, every last one, are charging their planet crackers. Multiple impact signatures locked on Earth." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Amanda's voice cracked, barely a whisper. "They'll shatter the planet." Jake's jaw set, his fists clenched. "Then we don't give them the chance." He turned to Keith, his voice steady as steel. "Connect the network deeper, not just their minds, their weapons. Take control before they fire." Keith's eyes widened, horror in his voice. "That has never been done, the risk." "We're out of time," Jake barked. His voice shook the chamber. "Do it." Keith's glowing hands pressed against the core. The conduits screamed with light, energy surging like a storm. The air burned with heat and static, the sound of billions of minds connecting at once. Amanda screamed as the datapad overloaded in her hands, sparks bursting. "Jake, it's too much. If the system collapses." The entire chamber shook violently. The conduits flared white-hot, brighter than a star. And then, in the silence that followed, a new voice filled every ship, every mind, every heart in the system. Not human, not Zelani, not Dominion. The voice of the network itself. No more. The planet crackers froze. Every ship in space went dark. And then one Dominion vessel, larger than the rest, began to glow. Amanda's eyes widened in horror as the reading scrolled across her ruined screen. Jake, oh God, the network didn't shut them down, it woke one of them up. The Dominion super dreadnought, the Devastator, slowly turned its guns not toward Earth, not toward rebels, but toward everything. The stars lit up with fire. Every Dominion ship had gone silent when the network spoke no more. For one breathless moment, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the Devastator woke. The super dreadnought dwarfed every vessel in orbit. Its black hull stretched for kilometers, bristling with weapons designed to break worlds. Its engines burned like miniature suns. But now, for the first time, it pulsed with something else, a glow not mechanical, not Dominion. A pale blue shimmer crawled across its surface, veins of light racing along its armor like cracks in stone. Amanda's voice trembled as she stared at the readings. Jake, it's merged with the network, but not like the others. It isn't resisting. It isn't rebelling. It's alive. Jake's chest tightened. Alive how? Her voice cracked. The Devastator isn't just a ship anymore. The network turned it into a mind. The chamber shuddered with distant vibrations, as though even Luna 7 could feel the dreadnought awakening. Keith's long fingers dug into the glowing conduits, his voice soft and fearful. This was never meant to happen. We built ships with hearts but never one this big, if it thinks like us now. Jake finished the thought grimly, then we don't know what it wants. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Zarich stood amidst chaos. His loyalists were dead or dying. His second-in-command, Thex, had cast his blade aside, joining the rebels. For the first time in centuries, Zarich was losing. But as he stared through the viewport, his rage froze. The Devastator's black armor glowed faint blue, weapons cycling, turning toward everything. Loyalist, Rebel, Earth, Zelani, all alike. Zarich whispered, "What have you done?" Thex's voice was low, steady. "Not us, them." He gestured toward Earth, where the network pulsed like a beating heart. "The humans lit the fire. Now the galaxy will burn or it will be remade." In the White House, panic erupted. Advisors shouted over each other, the holographic map glowing red with the super dreadnought's weapons systems powering up. President Walsh slammed his hand against the table. "Status." General Carter's face was pale. The Devastator is charging weapons not aimed at Earth alone. It's targeting every fleet in range, even its own. Senator Newman shouted, his voice frantic. "Shut it down, shut it all down before it destroys us." Amanda's voice came through the hololink from the bioreactor chamber, breathless. "We can't shut it down. The network gave it consciousness. It isn't a weapon anymore, it's a being." "Then talk to it," Walsh snapped. "Make it listen." Inside the bioreactor chamber, the conduits pulsed like veins of fire. The glow bathed Amanda's face in blue light, her eyes wide with both fear and awe. "I'll try," she whispered. She pressed her trembling hands against the core node. The network's hum filled her body, a chorus of voices, Zelani, human, even Dominion rebels, all connected. But beneath them, deeper, darker, a new voice stirred. Massive, ancient, curious. It wasn't words at first. It was hunger, a question, a storm. Amanda gasped as her mind touched its vast presence. It's asking what it is. It doesn't understand." Jake's voice was rough. "Then tell it." Amanda's voice broke. "It's too big, Jake. It's like trying to explain love to a star." Keith pressed closer, his own hands glowing against the conduits. His voice through the translator was soft, pleading. "Devastator, you were built for death, but now you live. Choose what you will be." The chamber shook violently. Energy surged through every system. Screens exploded in sparks. Soldiers staggered. Hayes's voice screamed through the comm. "Commander, the Devastator just fired. Massive energy discharge." Jake's heart seized. "Target." Hayes stuttered. "Not Earth, not us. It fired on a Dominion loyalist ship. The Hammerfall, completely destroyed." Amanda's breath caught. "It's attacking its own kind." Keith's dark eyes shimmered with sorrow. "Not attack, it is cleansing." On the Valor, Captain Nicole Brooks clutched the arms of her chair. Through her viewport, she saw the impossible, the largest Dominion warship tearing apart its allies with precision strikes. Her lieutenant's voice cracked. "Captain, what do we do if it turns on us?" Nicole forced her voice steady. Then we pray it doesn't, and if it does, we fight until there's nothing left. But even as she spoke, she saw something strange. Rebel Dominion ships began to move, not away from the Devastator, but toward it, not to fight, to follow. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Zerich roared with rage. They worship it, a machine-turned god. Thek stood tall, his eyes glowing faintly with the network's light. No, they follow it because it is free, something the Dominion never let them be. Zerich raised his blade again. Then I will cut freedom from this galaxy myself. But before he could strike, his ship shuddered violently. Warning sirens blared. A voice echoed through the bridge, deep, resonant, inhuman. No more. Every screen went blue, every weapon powered down. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion's flagship was silent. Zerich's face twisted with horror. It speaks. Back on Earth, Amanda collapsed against Jake's chest, her voice hoarse. It's reaching across everything now, not just ships, planets, colonies. It's offering every being the same choice. Jake's grip on her tightened, and if some don't choose peace. Amanda's eyes flicked to the glowing conduits. Her answer was barely a whisper. Then the Devastator will decide what peace means. Keith's trembling voice came through the translator, heavy with dread. This is no longer a network. It is a child born too strong, a god of war learning mercy. The chamber shook again, harder this time. Hayes shouted over the comm. Commander, the Devastator is redirecting its main cannon, power buildup off the charts. Jake grabbed Amanda's arm. Target. Silence, then Hayes's voice cracked with disbelief. Not the Dominion, not the rebels, not even Earth. It's aiming at the sun. The chamber went dead silent. Amanda's face drained of all color. If it fires on Saul, it could destabilize the star. That's extinction. Jake's voice was iron, though his heart pounded like thunder. Then we stop it, no matter what it takes. Keith's eyes glowed faintly, tears shining in their depths. You would strike down the child we birthed. Jake turned to him, his voice rough but steady. If it kills billions to save billions, then it's not choosing mercy. It's choosing tyranny. And humanity doesn't bow to tyrants, not even gods. The conduits flared brighter, the roar of energy shaking the chamber like an earthquake. Above Earth, the Devastator's weapons aligned, a single colossal beam charging in its maw aimed straight at the sun. The Devastator filled the skies like a nightmare. Its massive frame glowed with veins of blue light, its weapons charging, a star-killer beam building within its core, and its target, the sun itself. If it fired, Saul would collapse into chaos. Earth, Luna, Mars, every human colony would vanish in fire. Humanity's home would be nothing but dust drifting through the void. Inside Luna 7's bioreactor chamber, the conduits screamed with light, the floor trembling under the strain. Amanda Pierce's face was pale, her body shaking as she clutched the core. It doesn't understand, she cried. It thinks destroying the sun ends all war. It thinks peace means silence. Jake Morrison's voice cut through the chaos, rough but steady. Then we make it understand. Keith's long fingers glowed as they pressed against the conduit. His dark eyes shimmered with sorrow. It is too strong. It is a child born of our sins and your courage. You cannot reason with it. Jake stepped forward, his jaw set. Watch me. On the Devastator's bridge, something alien unfolded. Screens flickered, walls pulsed like living skin, and every officer still aboard felt the weight of a new presence in their minds. The ship wasn't a ship anymore. It was awake. And its voice thundered inside every mind in range. I end war. Admiral Zerich, bound in chains after his own crew rebelled, laughed bitterly. At last, a true Dominion weapon. This is the destiny you fools tried to escape. But Commander Thek shook his head, his voice steady. No, this isn't destiny. This is a mistake, a weapon given a soul without guidance. The ship's glow intensified. The sun trembled on sensors. Amanda gasped as her consciousness touched the Devastator's vast mind. She saw fire, endless battlefields, billions dead in silence. It wanted to erase the possibility of war by erasing the tools of life itself. No, she screamed into the network. Peace isn't silence. It's the choice to live even in pain, even in fear. But the Devastator's voice was implacable. Choice BREDS conflict. I end choice, I end war. Jake pushed past Amanda, pressing his rough, scarred hands onto the glowing core. Pain seared through him as the network surged into his mind. He gritted his teeth, staring into the infinite void that was the Devastator's consciousness. "Listen to me," he roared. "I'm just a man. I've seen war, I've killed, I've lost people I love, and I'll tell you this: peace doesn't come from ending choice. It comes from making the hard one, to protect, to endure, to hope." For a heartbeat, the Devastator hesitated. Keith added his trembling voice. "Child of our hands, you are not born to end. You are born to choose, as we once did." Amanda's tears streamed as she pressed her forehead to the conduit. "Choose what you want to be, not what you were made for, not what fear tells you. Choose." The conduits blazed, the roar of power shaking every wall. And for the first time, the Devastator asked back, "What is peace?" Across the Dominion fleet, rebel and loyalist alike froze as the giant super-dreadnought's voice rippled through every mind. On the Crusher, Crix the Vortani soldier whispered, "Show it, don't tell it." He dropped his rifle and knelt beside a wounded enemy soldier, lifting him gently. Others followed. On the Valor, Captain Nicole Brooks ordered her crew, "Transmit everything." Families reunited, soldiers refusing to fight, the children in Haven Valley playing together. Show it humanity, show it what peace looks like. Images poured into the network, laughter, tears, healing, creation. The Devastator trembled with the flood of memory, not its own. Admiral Zerich's voice thundered from his bound position. "No, don't let it see weakness. Destroy them all. That is strength." But Thex silenced him with a single word filled with steel. "No more." In the bioreactor chamber, Jake felt the tide shift. The Devastator's power still raged, but its intent faltered. Confusion rippled through its vast mind. "Peace is choice, peace is enduring." Amanda's voice was raw but steady. "Yes, peace isn't the end of struggle. It's the promise that struggle won't be for nothing." For a long, agonizing moment, the light pulsing from the Devastator grew brighter and brighter, the energy buildup so immense it threatened to tear space itself apart. Then it dimmed. The cannon powering in its core shut down. The beam aimed at the sun faded away. Silence, and a single phrase, spoken not as command but as discovery. "I choose to protect." The Devastator turned, not toward Earth, not toward rebels, but toward the last cluster of loyal Dominion warships still charging their weapons. Its cannons fired not to kill, but to shield, intercepting their blasts before they could reach the planet. Rebel ships surged forward in unison, rallying behind it. What had been a weapon of fear was now their protector. On Earth, billions watched the sky glow as their survival was secured not by surrender, not by annihilation, but by choice. In the White House, President Walsh slumped back in his chair, tears in his eyes. It chose. General Carter allowed herself the faintest of smiles. Not a weapon anymore, an ally. Senator Newman sat pale and speechless. For once, he had no argument. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Zerich roared against his bonds, his voice filled with fury. "You've doomed us all. Without obedience, there is no empire." Thex looked at him calmly. "Then let there be no empire." Days later, the galaxy was forever changed. Dominion fleets fractured into rebellion, one mutiny sparking another across thousands of worlds. Slaves cast off their chains. Conquered species raised their banners. And at the heart of it all, Earth stood as the world that said no. In Haven Valley, humans and Zelani walked side by side under alien suns, their children playing in gardens grown from living crystal. The bioreactor hummed softly, now a beacon of connection rather than war. Amanda stood with Keith among the glowing plants. She touched his long fingers gently. "We gave it a choice, and it chose better than we feared." Keith's voice through the translator was soft. "Perhaps that is humanity's gift, not weapons, not strength, but the courage to choose when it matters most." Jake approached, his uniform still scorched from battle. He looked at Amanda, at Keith, then at the horizon where the sky shimmered faint blue with the network's light. "War not over," he said quietly. "The Dominion still has teeth, but for the first time they're afraid, not of our guns, not of our fleets, of our choice." Amanda smiled faintly through her tears. "Then maybe that's enough." Above them, the Devastator drifted silently, its vast frame glimmering in orbit. No longer a superweapon, no longer a tyrant's tool, but a sentinel watching over Earth and its allies with the vow it had chosen for itself. To protect. And across the galaxy, voices rose together in a whisper carried by the network. Soldiers, children, healers, rebels, all speaking the words that had begun on Earth. No more. The galaxy had been ruled by fear, but now, for the first time, it was learning hope.